Hello Amazon FBA sellers. In today's video we're going to talk about pricing and repricing your used books, and this will apply if you're doing the online arbitrage Amazon business model that we focus in on, or if you are locally sourcing, getting books with a scanner. This will still apply. This should help with your repricing strategy and pricing on Amazon, and we'll focus in today on the top 6 mistakes. Okay, the first mistake I see is pricing your books way too high at the time of purchase. I've worked with many people, spoken to many people doing this business, and sometimes they just price way too high because someone else is priced that high. Sometimes the reason is you're following the crowd when you should not be. You're following perhaps another seller that has overpriced their books, and you think that that price is good and you're going to go with it. Now, you'll learn this over time as you gain more experience as to what is acceptable and what is not acceptable in terms of pricing too high. But we do have somewhat of a solution for you in terms of our diamond flips. I won't go into the details on this video, but one thing we do with the pricing is we give you a suggested selling price that we think is at least somewhat reasonable, and you will often see, for those that use our service, that we are priced sometimes below the lowest FBA, sometimes at, sometimes below, and sometimes even higher. But we want to make sure that we put you in a good situation where that book's going to sell and sell quickly, rather than trying to hold out for a potential return on investment, which is simply not realistic. All right, now number 2 is really important, and number 2 can actually help you with number 1. And the second biggest mistakes we see, and I did this right from the beginning when I started, and that's not repricing at all. Okay, not repricing, not using a repricer. And what I'll say about this is that any repricing you do is better than doing no repricing at all. Whether you're using a third-party repricer or you're going in and doing it yourself, any repricing you do is better than none at all. Okay, the third mistake I see is not knowing the sales pattern of the book in which you are repricing. Okay, so if you are going in and repricing a book and not really knowing if it is a textbook or not a textbook, or some sort of a holiday book, or maybe a once a year textbook, like we like to call them, July textbooks, if you don't know what that book sales pattern is, when you go to reprice, you are somewhat going in a little bit blind. Okay, you really have to know what the sales pattern of the book is. And by the way, you cannot always rely upon the title of the book, as with these examples you'll see. And one of the things we emphasize in using our service is making sure you denote the sales pattern for each book. And again, regarding our diamond flips, that's something that we're going to provide for you. As soon as you open up the software and start using it, you're going to know whether or not the book you're looking at is a textbook or not a textbook or something else. Okay, and number 4 is aggressively repricing your textbooks at the start of textbook season. So again, got to know the sales pattern of the book. And often what happens with textbooks during textbook season, which can be long, especially in the summertime, if you're priced very quickly or you're priced low and you're having a repricer to, let's say, match the lowest or even go below the lowest FBA offer, that can often be a big mistake that's going to cost you a lot of money, especially if you've got a lot of books in stock and you do this for a whole bunch of books. You know, we're talking perhaps hundreds or even thousands of dollars you're throwing down the drain. So you need to pay attention to the Keepa chart, see what the demand was of this book last year, anticipate that that is likely to occur again this year, and see what's going on. And you're usually better off, you know, pricing higher than most other sellers, FBA sellers, at the start of textbook season, especially when the book is going to pick up sales quite a bit in the coming weeks or months, and then readjust accordingly. Okay, so big mistake. Don't be the first one that wants to sell your textbook at the start of textbook season. Okay, and number 5 is, I think I made this mistake when I started off as well. And again, regarding textbooks, is not repricing textbooks frequently during textbook season. Okay, like I just mentioned, the strategy might be to don't try to price immediately at the start of textbook season, but that does not mean you don't reprice during textbook season, and do it as frequently as you can, right? So, and if you didn't have much time during textbook season and you had a whole bunch of books, guess what? You're going to want to focus in on your textbooks and not so much your other books that are non-textbooks. You really want to pay attention to the ones that are textbooks. And again, maybe you prioritize and do the ones that are the most expensive. Do those first, or do the ones that have a shorter textbook season and then wait for the other ones. So not every textbook season is the same for every book. They can be very, very different, as you can see. Now, how frequently should you reprice during textbook season? Well, that's, of course, is going to be up to you, but I would, say at a bare minimum once a week, maybe even every 3-4 days, depending on the book that you have. And, if it's a more expensive book, that might be one that you want to focus in on even more. You may be able to resell that book quite a bit more this week than you were last week. So pay close attention to textbooks during textbook season. All right, and the last one is letting your ego set the price rather than the market. And what I mean by that is, when you purchased the book, you probably thought, oh, this is really good and I'm doing everything right and I'm going to plan on making a $35 profit. The book's going to sell quickly, this, that, and the other thing, right? But guess what? The markets sometimes change, right? And in some cases, maybe you don't need to change the price. You just leave it right there and it sells quickly and all is good in the world, right? And sometimes the price even goes up, right? It happens all the time. All of a sudden you realize, you're like, wow, I should have raised my price. I don't know why I just decided to price it at that. I should raise it. The market has changed. And then sometimes the price goes the other way. And guess what? You need to lower your price, right? That is just part of retail landscape now and always. But when the price does go down, you want to learn from your mistakes. Or in some cases, you didn't make a mistake. The market changed and you have no idea why. And this happens to every retailer, from Walmart to your local boutique, right? They're going to be putting things on sale. They're going to have a clearance rack. This is what happens. And your focus should not be on that. Your focus should be on the big picture, that the odds are way in your favor with this business model. Just knowing that bad news does not get better with age. Okay, if you got a bad situation, reduce the price, sell that book, get your money, and go buy more books. Okay, very, very important. The harsh reality is nobody cares what you paid for the book, right? Amazon doesn't care. The customer doesn't care. Other sellers don't care. You're the only one that cares. And don't let your pride stick in the way of you making good decisions. Let the market make your decisions, not your pride, your ego, or anything else.